Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to another great video with the majestic host, the Savior. Today, I thought I would just talk about 3 Stoic principles that have honestly transformed my life as much as they can. Now, I've been practicing Stoicism for like 4 years now, I would say. I started around 24. I first got into Seneca, which I would not recommend, okay? Please start with Epictetus, then Seneca, perhaps Marcus Aurelius, Meditations, and then that kind of spiraled into my whole journey into philosophy. But I have kept them at a minimum for the time being because I am currently expanding and working on my own philosophy, creating something new from original texts from the Roman Empire, mixing it in with Taoism, Plato, Aristotle, and my understanding around metaphysics, which I've done a separate video on, because you have to understand metaphysics before you really get into philosophy, as it is kind of the precursor to philosophy and science. But yes, I'm trying to create something new, but it all originated from Stoicism. So that's why I wanted to make this video today, to discuss 3 Stoic principles in 2024 that will help transform your life, that will help give you more clarity, more peace of mind. As someone, and I don't talk about this often, but I just want to be honest with you guys, the wise ones who are subscribed to my channel, as I don't think anyone else will find this video, I do suffer from a pretty bad anxiety disorder, a kind of health anxiety, I guess you would call it. I've had it ever since I was a teenager. Basically, I just get anxious thoughts. They can come without any reason. I guess anxiety and depression share similar crossovers, but mine is certainly much more of an anxiety disorder. And I've been combating that and my OCD throughout my whole life, pretty much. CBT has helped, but actually Stoic Principles has helped the most. So I do hope you enjoy these Stoic Principles, these 3 Stoic Principles. Stoicism is a precursor to CBT actually, which is a form of therapy for those who are suffering from unwanted thoughts. But you have to understand the metaphysical and the physical, the objective universe first, okay? So please check out my metaphysical video if you want to learn more about philosophy and what I'm building here. The idea of metaphysics is basically where we tap into that conscious energy. Where does consciousness even come from? And tapping into the ideas and bringing them into the objective reality. These abstract thoughts, making them actually physical, making them manifest, okay? And that's something that Plato was onto, and a lot of philosophers didn't agree with his ideas, but I think Plato was onto something. Now, Stoicism is a philosophy that I think a lot of people can benefit from because it doesn't deal with a lot of, kind of crazy philosophical ideas. It's very much grounded in this reality and the, just the normal feelings and emotions that we deal with every single day. Anger being a big part of Stoicism, how to control that. But I really don't like this idea of modern day Stoicism, and yes, I am showing you strong, muscly men. The idea of modern day Stoics, okay, has been completely just forgotten and overshadowed by, disgusting figures, like, hyper masculine public figures like Andrew Tate and all that stuff. Stoicism has got nothing to do with any of these idiots, okay? Stoicism is fundamentally about virtue, okay? And modern day people just simply don't understand Stoicism. If you talk about a Stoic man, you think of a strong, muscly Stoic person who doesn't show any emotion, okay? Who isn't even, fazed by seeing a loved one cut down in front of him, okay? That isn't a Stoic man. A Stoic is someone who actually deals with their emotions in a virtuous, logical, rational way, and not just their own emotions, but all perceptions that they perceive in this objective universe, okay? That is what a Stoic man is. The true philosophy of Stoicism has been forgotten, and it's being destroyed by modern day fanatics now because they don't like the idea of strong men, because they don't like the idea of men actually having ambition or wisdom or thinking for themselves. That's why it's being destroyed in modern day media. My philosophy that I'm building right now, the RUER, is built off principles from the Roman Empire, because I do think that the Roman Empire, it needs tweaking, but this was the best political system and the best civilization that we had, actually. You know, with all the technological trends that we have now, I honestly think, yes, there's lots of things wrong with the Roman Empire, that's why I said it needs tweaking, and I'm not saying it was all morally justified. The Romans understood something, and that was the sense of community and destroying tribalism, basically, and putting proper education, philosophy at the topmost importance of, you know, their civilization, their kind of higher elite class, if you will, philosopher kings, this idea. I just think the Romans and the Greeks had it right, so yeah, that's what I'm building on right now.
It may seem difficult at first, but everything is difficult at first. You may abandon your own body, but you must preserve your honor.
Please make sure that you do subscribe. If you are somehow new to the channel, it would mean a lot to me. If you like gaming analysis, looking at them through a philosophical lens, and actual philosophical content more detailed in the real world, like this video right here, and other gaming reviews and stuff like that, then you're in the right place. I blend gaming and philosophy together, and I'm happy if you do join us as a wise one, join this great community. I just love interacting with you guys. I'm passionate about making my content, giving you some kind of value, I hope. And yeah, just support me by giving this video a like, or checking out my music on Spotify, dropping a donation, being a member, whatever it is, so I can keep doing this. I know this video probably won't get many views, as most people don't care about this subject, but I think it's important to cover, as it has helped me a lot, and I hope I can help you guys. So I'm not going to make this video super long. I'm just going to lay out the 3 Stoic principles that can transform your life, the 3 Stoic principles in 2024 that I honestly think are the most beneficial and that you should learn as a way to get into Stoicism, okay? So I haven't written anything down for this video. I'm just going off on my own knowledge, so I'm not going to give you a super detailed version, just an overview, okay, for beginners basically. So the first principle is Amor fati, okay, which roughly translates to the love of fate, or, you know, accepting fate, okay? Now, as someone who deals with anxiety, and maybe some of you deal with it as well, or depression, or just normal people who sometimes, you know, find life to be overbearing, as it can be, because life is suffering, as the Buddha acknowledges, we can only transcend this through virtue, okay? Now, I'm completely against philosophies like hedonism, Epicureanism, and basically seeking pleasure in life. That is what your fundamental goal should be. You know, Buddhism goes against that as well. Taoism, lots of philosophies go against it, but there are philosophies that encourage it, because if something is pleasurable, why not just constantly seek it? If you enjoy sitting on the couch all day, eating Twinkies and fiddling with your butthole, it's pleasurable, why not continue to do it? Well, because you are falling into a hedonistic desires, okay? And the desire is the strong point here that we have to focus on. Desires basically make you a slave. You are a slave to your desires. You are a slave to these emotions, okay? These perceptions. So virtue is the way to break down broken perceptions and understanding what the objective reality actually is, separated from the metaphysical. This is my own current way of dealing and understanding Stoic principles, okay? So I am kind of, you might have your own tactics is what I'm saying, but the principles remain the same. Living a life of virtue is actually what is fundamentally important here, you know, being someone that you can respect, that others can respect. You can do pleasurable things, but understanding that you shouldn't be a slave to your desires, you know, drinking for the sake of drinking, or partaking in rich food just for the sake of, you know, having that flavorsome bite that gives you a dopamine rush. You know, these in the long term actually make you a slave to your own desires, okay? The choice of Hercules is a good analogy, because basically you can go down the road of, you know, an easy life, comfort, all that kind of stuff, you know, not ever analyzing yourself, although I would say, you know, a life that isn't being analyzed is not a life worth living. I'm pretty sure Socrates said that, I'm not sure. Anyway, or you can go down the other route, which is a life of difficulty. But this life of difficulty, of challenges, of, you know, facing, you know, bigger foes, challenging yourself, and self-actualization, you know, kind of similar to the idea of the Übermensch in Nietzsche's philosophy. This is actually a life worth pursuing, because by building up your character, by living a life of virtue, of honesty, and, you know, helping others, of empathy, of understanding, of building something that you're proud of, that can help other people, you know, taking part in society, going against the victim mentality of woe is me, and accepting your burden and living a virtuous life is the best way to confront reality and fate itself. The Stoics would argue there is no higher moral being than, you know, accepting fate and living a life of virtue, okay? So what does this have to do with accepting fate, you might ask? Well, the Stoics basically live in accordance with nature, okay? They don't run away from their nature, they don't shy away from darker aspects of what is the natural universe, okay? As I said, life is suffering, terrible things can happen to you, and as someone with anxiety disorder, I think about that shit constantly. But Stoicism is a way of accepting nature, understanding that you are a part of this nature, and basically letting go of things that are external to you, looking at everything with an objective lens and an objective perception instead of your own ego, detaching yourself from irrationality and, you know, giving what God has given you rationality and justice and courage, deconstructing these notions and ideas that they actually have any value to them, basically is a way of living a life of virtue. For example, I think Seneca said, if you don't feel hurt, then you haven't been. Basically, everything is a perception. The metaphysical thought is simply a thought. You give meaning to these thoughts. So tapping into judgments like good versus bad, they don't actually exist. That's the whole point. And living a life of virtue makes you see the bigger picture, makes you basically want to live a virtuous life. Living a virtuous life is about living a life that you can be proud of, that you aren't shying away from your nature, but simply accepting your nature. And Amor fati, accepting fate, is all about that. It's all about accepting, not shying away from what nature actually is, but accepting your nature fundamentally, the good and the bad, and your notions of good and bad. That is what Amor fati is. God willing, you know, whatever you believe in, the universal being, the nature, or just simply nature without any type of spiritual connection to it, whatever it is you believe to be true, okay, is tapping into that source of objective understanding, rationality, that we are actually a part of this universe. We have been created from the very atoms that create everything else. So going against nature, trying to be something above nature, that's simply your ego, and it's about destroying that perception, okay, and accepting your fate, because only by accepting challenges in your life, you know, fears or you know, doubts that you have, that's the only way you can grow, and that is fundamentally the best way to live a human life. And that's what the Stoics thought, and that's personally what I believe as well. Obviously, I'm adding my own personal beliefs here because it's quite difficult to separate the two. Now, the second one is Memento mori, okay? And basically, this is quite a simple one. This is just remembering that you are mortal and that you will die, okay? Breaking down the time perception. If you look at the grand scheme of things, most things don't actually matter. Most human concepts don't really matter. And human beings in the grand scheme of things don't matter. Doesn't mean that they don't have value in the here and now, but understanding that the universe is a constant change, in a constant flux, okay? It's never, something that we can control as of now. The future does not exist, the past has already happened, so focusing on the now, living in accordance again with nature, Amor fati, means that you accept your mortality, that you accept that this is part of the natural order of things, and knowing that one day you will die, meditating on that, understanding that, gives you greater understanding for the life that you have now, and, gives you greater empathy and understanding, and hopefully, this kind of kick up the arse that you need to self-actualize and reach your full potential, because that is what the human journey is all about. So Amor fati, remember death, is a way to kind of not shy away. It's basically a way to deconstruct death as something terrible, because actually when you think about it, that's something that I worry about all the time, but it is just simply a part of the natural order of things. And if you look at it through an objective lens, then you realize actually it's not scary. We are constantly going through consciousness shifts, okay? And death is just simply another form of that. Accepting what you are and understanding that you cannot change that, and it's pointless to fight against it, and it will give you greater understanding of virtue and a life worth living by accepting your mortality and meditating on what death and life even is to begin with. The last Stoic principle that I want to give you is the Dichotomy of Control. It's quite simple. I'm sure there are more interesting ones, but these are just the three that are most important to me, and are just, like I said, this is all off the top of my, head, my own knowledge. So, yeah, there's plenty of Stoic principles out there, but these are the three that have helped me the most. The Dichotomy of Control. Controlling things that are in your power, that are in your control, and letting go of everything that's not within your control. So not worrying about something that isn't in your control, and perhaps, caring to a degree of what is in your control, changing things that you can. For example, body, okay? I can just shrivel up and eat a bunch of, donuts if I want. But again, that's a slave to my desires. I choose to work out, even though it might not look like it. I've already built quite a significant amount of muscle over the last 2 years, and I'm only just starting to get into it because that is something within my control. It's something that I choose to do that makes me feel better about myself. On the flip side, worrying about when the sun will explode is obviously out of your control, so therefore you should not even worry about it. You should not think about it. It is just a metaphysical thought, and it has no objective bearing on this world. That's how I like to view it, and that is what the Stoics would argue is basically only controlling the things that you can and letting go and not thinking about the external, only your own moral impressions, okay? And it goes like something like this with perception, okay? You have the perception, then you have the impression, then you have the judgment. And Stoicism is all around the virtue and the correct perception of living a life in accordance with your nature, okay? And understanding what's in your control and what's an external impression is very important to understanding, what you should care about, and letting go of something that's not within your nature and what is good or bad, okay? So those are the 3 Stoic principles that will transform your life, the 3 Stoic principles in 2024 that I think everyone should learn about. I'm not sure if many people will care about this video, but it's something that I felt strongly I needed to make, as sometimes I have to remind myself of these principles when I sometimes, go off the deep end and get lost in my own dark thoughts. We all have them. So I hope that this video helps you, because that's what I want to do. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day. The chicken is staring into my soul. Bye bye.